Welcome to the Run for Cover Records podcast. This is. I'm going to say this is a special episode. Producer B, would you agree? Special episode?
Bob, this is going to be the most special episode to date, maybe. Although that would, reflect poorly on our guests. But we have more guests now, so I think just by a volume game, this is going to be the most special one so far.
Is the special thing about it that this one we don't start with an intro for everybody's names?
No, we will. Producer B was doing a good job because he referenced me by name, Dane, but we'll roll out a regular intro. But I will say, so qualitative, this is just another great episode of the Run for Cover Records podcast. But quantitatively speaking, this is a very special episode. I am one of your hosts. My name is Bob. And as per usual, we are joined by...
Oh, I'm Dane. I'm here as well.
I'm Jeff.
I'm producer Brian, but for this episode, you can just refer to me as Brian.
That's right. And making this such a very special occasion, we have a whole cartel of folks. So why don't we start? Let's see. Can you guys organize it in your brains to go alphabetically? First letter of your first name alphabetically.
You're asking a lot here.
I know. Let's start with E is for...
Hi, guys. My name is Eric. Happy to be here. I work at Run for Cover, helping out with physical sales and marketing and such.
Thank you. And then next, I'm pretty sure M comes after E.
I think you're right. Hi, guys. I'm Maria. I started at Run for Cover in March of 2024. So I'm pretty new, but I do streaming and some project managing.
Welcome. After M comes O.
Yes. Hi, I'm Olivia. I started in October at Run for Cover, and I'm a project manager, and I'm happy to be here.
Last, definitely not least. Come on. Obviously not least. One of my favorite letters of the alphabet. T is for...
Tom. It is the best letter of the alphabet, I think. I'm Tom. I'm the label manager here at Run for Cover. My band, Hostage Com, got signed to Run for Cover in 2009. Jeff has not been able to get rid of me since then. I started as label manager in 2011, and here we are.
Oh, yeah. Welcome. Thank you all for joining us. This seems fun already. I've already had a very good time. So to set the table, we're basically, this is also just to kind of behind the curtains energy. We've had a lot of fun recording these podcasts, and we had this idea of what if we do these somewhat regular intermezzos of staff meetings? And when we talked about staff meetings, we're like, well, obviously Tom would have to be there. We need to get Tom. But I'm hoping the rest of you will consider and have enough fun to join us for more of these in the future. So the topic at hand was doing an end of year wrap up episode. And it's one of these things. How do you do that? How do you capture it without it being kind of stagnant and boring? And Dane, what did we come up with? How did we even get to where we did?
We decided that we'd like to go through and highlight all of the releases from 2024 in classic millennial generation, everybody gets a trophy style. So we've all kind of gone through all of the 2024 releases and decided some superlative awards to give each of the releases. And we're just kind of going to go through and give us a chance to talk about everything that came out last year.
And so I think we're going to have a fun time with this. Very loose. Keep it moving. Producer B, as always, please keep this train on the tracks. I'm very excited for this, especially because in our prep meetings, not once but twice did people completely throw me for a loop. Jeff hit us with a theoretical, hypothetical category that just floored me. So thank you for that, Jeff. You are a legend as always. Let's get started. Who wants to raise their hand and go first? I think that one of the boring old standard hosts should go first just to set the tone.
So we split up some of these releases and the one that was I chose to start with the Glass Beach record, which was the first record that came out in 2024. So I guess it makes sense to start there. So if we can maybe insert a drum roll here, producer Brian,
Notes.
I'll take that stuff from Bob. I'm not taking it from you.
So Glass Beach, Plastic Death came out January 19th, 2024. And I am proud to present to Glass Beach the award this is the High Score Award, which is for most notes played.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Undeniable.
Yeah. A lot of notes on this album. In general, I'm floored by people who can play their instruments so proficiently. And there are layers and layers of intricate parts on this record. But it's not just like proggy or mathy for like the sake of being complex, which sometimes can happen. So this album in general, I think it's a super cohesive vibe. It's epic, but it's organic. And I know this may be a little bit embarrassing to admit, but this record may have been the reason that I decided to finally do a deeper dive into the Radiohead catalog this year. And finding out that I really do like Radiohead after a lifetime of thinking that I didn't really care about Radiohead. So high praise for Plastic Death by Glass Beach with the High Score Award.
I want to say that your Radiohead confession is honest and brave, but also a testament to the power of RIYLs. That's recommended if you like for the Gen Pop listening. Putting Glass Beach in conversations, being like this is a Radiohead influence record. You might not hear that on first listen, but I think that to your point, some of the like maximalist energy and like the consideration of creating the vibe that Glass Beach did on this record is definitely something that like comes from a band like Radiohead that's so like thoughtful about their approach to every aspect of their music. And I think that it's a cool through line.
I'm a big fan of bands that saying Glass Beach sounds like Radiohead on this record is 100% true. And I'm a big fan of comparisons like that really don't make any sense. But then you hear a particular part of a song or a few tracks and you're like, oh, okay, I totally get it. Because at first that sounded insane to me, but it really does sound like Radiohead at times.
And I think that's one of those unique things because I can hear it. I have not put that together till you guys started talking about that, but I can hear that both in how, unique is a funny word, but how unique some of the tunefulness is on this Glass Beach record. It mirrors that because Radiohead is this kind of complex listen, right? It has a lot going on. But when you pull it apart, you find these really interesting melodies. And that's a commonality, I think, between those two things. So
it's definitely the vocals for me that make the comparison true.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's also that they have basically unlimited ideas, and the way that they're able to take all those ideas over the course of like writing and making the record and fit them into this one kind of cohesive narrative that you can kind of just get lost in. Like, it reminds me of like reading a good sci-fi novel or something like that. It creates its own world unto itself, which is also something that Radiohead does.
All right. Shout out Glass Beach. All right. Where do we go next? Let's keep it moving. It's an award show. We're not going to have the wrap it up clock, but like occasionally Brian might start humming like playoff music to us and we'll have to go, oh, okay. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. I think we should shake it up. I think we shouldn't keep it too chronological. I think we can hop around a bit. So if anybody wants to jump in with first one they got.
Okay. I will, if anyone doesn't mind, I'd love to jump in so I can get, it's like, if you guys ever done those assignments at school where it's like, all right, I'm nervous. I'm like feeling this. I'm just going to go. I'm going to get to the front of the line and I'm done. It's like, that was like one of my main moves. I'm also 1,000 years old, so who knows? I have the esteemed honor to discuss and award rival schools that Run for Cover did reissues. What are the mechanicals on that? Dane, if you have them in front of you, or producer B, if you want to help. When did the Found and the Petals reissues come out?
November 1st, so not too long ago.
So that's great. So see, we're going full chronological out of order. But to me, the reason I am awarding this, it is best sophomore release that wasn't truly a sophomore release, and best sophomore release that was a sophomore release. So it's the inversion. The story behind this is that Found, and then my subcategory.
Sorry, that's the name of the award.
What do you want? I don't want to. I mean, okay.
We don't got enough room on the index card.
Hey Tom, you had a band named Hostage Calm.
Mm-hmm.
That's named after a Quicksand song.
Uh-huh.
Would you say that you're pretty into Walter Schreifel's music?
I think that's a fair characterization.
Do you think, am I also a high-level Walter Schreifel's fan?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So Dane, thanks. I appreciate it. I'm saying nice things.
I have to agree with Dane. I don't know if it'll fit on the index card.
All right, fine. Then I'm going to award Found with my subcategory, which was best record that was previously lost to the sands of time as terrible MP3 files for like a decade.
The Sands of Time Award.
Sands of Time. There we go. All right.
There you go.
See? Yeah, we got. That's why we have producer B. The story behind Found is that Rival Schools was a band who Walter Schreifels and co. Ian Love, Sammy. Shout out to the people I'm not naming, but founded in the very, very late 90s. Put out a fantastic LP, United by Fate, that was met with some renown. Do you know what date that United by Fate was released on? Tom, any guesses? You guys are all young. It was released on September 11th, 2001.
Yeah.
Oops.
Whoa,
that's a rough one.
Did not know that.
Tough one. Tough one in the U.S. market.
United by Fate.
Despite that, did very well. And many people were eagerly anticipating their follow-up. Unfortunately, they broke up in 2003 without releasing a follow-up, but they did record it's sort of lost on me if they were always reported to be these demos, these tracking for an album that was lost, and it circulated on the internet as things do, as these just like pathetic sounding MP3s, like the worst thing you've ever heard. The drums sounded like they were pulled off the bottom of the ocean. They were like, and I just want to thank everyone involved with the release of this. I want to thank my mom. I want to thank, my agents. Thanks to the squad. But no, I want to thank everybody involved with bringing Found to light, because these are tracks that I loved. I absolutely loved them because it was so tonally different than United by Fate. It had this much more down tempo. Sure, there's some bright moments, but both United by Fate and Petals almost are flourishing. And if you want, I can give Petals the Meta Award because it's Petals, Pedals, but I think it's quite a fragrant, flowery record. And that's what I like about it, because it's really uplifting and bright.
Numerous times when typing the title of this record, I'm hitting the T and then having to backspace and hit the D.
What I'm saying.
There's flowers on the record cover, so they really
so
made it
that was my
confusing.
other. Yeah, that's right. I was also going to call it the most entendre award, but so that's where I'm at.
But that was too short. That was too short of an award title.
Yeah, I wanted to go long. Call me Charles Bronson the way I write these award titles. What do you guys got? Any feelings on Rival Schools? Because I know at least a couple of you folks are fans. So
I have a question for you, Bob, that you might know the answer to. That's only slightly related. Wasn't the third Quicksand record lost to the sands of time in a similar way?
Yes.
Why is Walter losing all of his music here?
That's what the song Hostage Calm appeared on the Lost Quicksand record.
Yes. And it is questionable how many songs they actually had for it. But yeah, look. Listeners to this podcast, if you've not heard the band Hostage Calm, please change that, do so. But you really also need to hear that song. Good Lord, what a song. The late era of Quicksand is interesting because it then overlaps with Walter's short-lived band World's Fastest Car, who, if you find there is a really good live set from Japan, there are studio recordings which are really, really kind of eerie and dark, and I really like them. Some of those songs became Rival Schools tracks. So, but why did that happen? I don't know. He goes through these shifts because his band in between Gorilla Biscuits and Quicksand, Moondog, also something that came out but didn't ever really come out. And he's actually said about it that it was like, yeah, people come up to me and tell me they love those songs, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I just kind of made it up in the studio. Those were not even fully finished. And if you catch him in his most honest moments, he'd probably say the same thing about the Lost Quicksand material, as well as maybe elements of this record, because I believe there's a couple songs off Found that ended up on Pedals that are tweaked just a little bit. And I think that's with intention.
Wikipedia is also telling me that a song from the unfinished Quicksand record made it on United by Fate as well.
Yes. I'm not going to pull it up, but yes, I think that's right. There's that. I mean, wow, you're making me ramble, Jeff. There is a significant flow and overlap from Quicksand through to Rival Schools. And when I find people who like one but don't at least have some appreciation for the other, I'm sort of confused. They do sound very different, and they have different players, different elements. But there's a sonic through line that really makes sense. And Rival Schools, you get a little bit more pop sensibility, a little bit more melody. Quicksand, you get a bit more heaviness, but there's some similar thought processes behind it all.
It's funny to consider too, just like the root of this question being like, how do you kind of like, like lose a song? Because it does seem like that is a through thing. And you think about cloud recording now, all these kids, they don't know what it's like to be like living in the Lower East Side in like the year 2000 and, like having to take the train and like carry hard drives and stuff like that. They don't know, they weren't in the trenches like that. You know what I mean? Things get lost, but
thank you for your service, producer.
The most special thing about Rival Schools to me is coming back 10 years after your like the band kind of like takes a little bit of a halt in 2011. Cause like I really had no, when in 2011, I'm thinking about like what I like. It's like, Tiger's Jaw, like all the Run for Cover stuff. I'm like really into that. And I hear Ring It Out and I'm like, this is a perfect song off Pedals. And yes. I'm like, wait, this band like it has a, like 10-year history. And then you dive deeper into like, the players on that record and stuff like that. There's no reason for that record and that band and that song to be as like special and insanely good as it is. And that's, continuing the Sands of Time award. Mm-hmm. I just want to like give my flowers to Pedals because it's such a special record. And I'm glad we got to, be involved in it.
I thank you for doing that. I felt like it was a kindness done to me by Jeff and Tom, especially. I thought they were like, Bob really likes Rival Schools. Why don't we do something nice for him this year?
I also had to take the train to Chelsea to scan the original Pedals artwork so that we could put it on the thing. So I'll take a little bit of credit for that too.
Thank you too. Thank you everybody. Fine.
I learned what a drum scanner was in the process of doing this. I mean, what hasn't been lost to the sands of time?
It's real. It's oh man, we're done. There's a timeless element to the music that makes me happy because there's many of these things where you unearth it and you listen to it and you're like, oh, okay, and you kind of contextualize it as something that belongs to this era or this sound or what have you. And especially with Pedals, that just feels, that came out 15 years ago now. I don't know, almost. And it feels like it could have come out yesterday. So
also shout out to the solo Walter record that we put out 10 years ago, maybe.
Yeah. I love that. What were you gonna say, Eric?
I was going to say, I agree with Brian's categorization of Ring It Out. And I feel like of all the Walter Scheifel's projects, this one has the most like radio sensibility. It's kind of surprising to me that it wasn't, or maybe it was, but like a huge radio hit, either with United by Fate or Petals. It feels like something that really could have taken off in kind of a massive way.
Yeah, I mean, we got to have a breakout episode with Sam and Walter. I think, like both Petals and United by Fate came out on different major labels. I think following the success of Quicksand, and I would be really interested to hear from their perspective, like navigating those environments and then running into shit like the record coming out on 9/11 and what that did to alter the trajectory of their career as they tried to get to the next level, as they implemented these radio sensibilities and all that kind of stuff. I'm sure that would be pretty interesting.
It would be.
1000% agree. And you're dead on, Eric, about that. I believe it's Travel by Telephone had a pretty nice spot on UK radio when it came out of United by Fate, and they were just buzzing in the UK, like playing big shows, selling them out, and did well in the US, but timing interceded and things got kind of weird, and it never came together in a very odd way when it felt like it was about to. Like they were playing Maxwell's in Hoboken and selling it out and just having these huge New York shows, but then it just never came together the way that if you hear the record, you hear this could have, like this band could be going on tour with the Foo Fighters, in the same way as you'd like to see them at a cool small venue.
Not to downplay the success of the record, though. I saw the video for Use for Glue on the wall screen at Pacific Sunwear once.
True. Well, that's it. I mean, honestly, if you're on the wall screen at PacSun,
yeah, what more can you ask for?
What I wouldn't give.
You're goated. All right. I've monopolized. Who's up next?
Let's get some new blood.
I got an early. Yeah. I'm here. I got early in the year one. Okay. I chose. I feel like I've got to give a conflict of interest before I dive in, which is that the artist that I chose, I know very well as a human person, and so whatever. It was really hard to choose a superlative for Mini Trees and the Shapeshifter or Burnout EP rather that came out last March. But I did my thinking. I got through my many ideas. And I think my drumroll superlative for Mini Trees is most bass face, which if you've ever listened to this record, I mean, you could say most bass face inspiring, but I feel like if you listen to it, you can hear the bass face occurring as these riffs are being played. There are some serious shredders on this EP. Outside of course, Lexi herself, who I don't think played any bass on this record. But John Joseph, her producer, is major shredder. And then also Jimmy Johnson, it was a pretty sweet inclusion of a bass player on this record. My follow-up, like maybe sub-superlative that I can talk about is this is also the best Easter egg hunt record or EP. And I can get into that in a second, but part of that is that things like having Jimmy play bass on this record, Lexi's dad, who passed away when she was very young, was a very phenomenal drummer and actually played with James Taylor alongside Jimmy Johnson, and he was a family friend, and so to have him on this record was super sweet. And yeah, I mean, I feel like I often, as a bassist, will be very clued into those lines, and I think it's pretty rare for music that hits this heavy in like a pop vernacular to shred this hard on the low end, and I'm always really drawn there. Yeah, I have more. I could keep giving her superlatives.
Well, I have questions, but I want to I want to hear more. Can you explain bass face to the uninitiated listener, please?
Okay, so there's a phenomenon that happens if you've ever played bass, where you simply cannot help but make a very unappealing frown of sorts while playing very heavy lines.
Facts.
Haim's bassist is very popular for her ridiculous bass basses. Shout out Haim. So for me, it's sort of like, I also find that like when I'm really like listening hard, I will probably like inadvertently make the face when I'm listening to a really good bass line
assumed
too.
Bass face.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like I'm not.
I'll back this up.
There's no air guitar. There's no air guitar. It's just bass while listening.
Oh, amazing. See, this is
For me.
enough. All right, so you did mention Easter eggs. Easter eggs are one of the best things. So that's such a great award. I love that award. Give us another. You got any other Easter eggs that you think are?
Wait, Jeff is dropping. Not to call Jeff out, but he's dropping Haim bass player bass in the chat. I'm wondering, Jeff, was this like news to you, or is this the first time?
I had honestly no idea what you were talking about.
Oh my God, this is incredible. Well, I'm really happy for you. Okay, best Easter egg hunt.
One of these is going in the carousel for sure. For reference.
Okay, best Easter egg hunt. So the other like caveat, or to like share my personal connection to this body of work, is that before I worked for Run for Cover, Lexi and I are dear friends from the LA music world, and she asked me to creative direct the art layout for this record,
cool.
Which was probably one of the most fun projects of my life. And we did a lot of fun things. I brought the miniature version of it, the mini trees.
Hell yeah.
Of the art. We did a lot of fun things, dropping some Easter eggs in the art specifically. And then I thought there were like the auditory Easter eggs of the fact that this record is a lot about like, deals a lot with like identity in like a lot of different senses, and the idea of like being pulled between different facets of self. And so that's like throughout the lyrics and the music. But then we kind of wanted to bring it into the visuals. And one of those like elements of push-pull, not to quote one of the song titles, is in her like family's lineage. So we had her dad, as I said, was an incredible drummer and played with James Taylor. So we had a James Taylor record in it. You can't see with the glare, sorry. There's a James Taylor record in the album art. And then her mom briefly for one record sang with the band Hiroshima, and we have that record in there as well. And then Lexi's first record, Always in Motion, out on Run for Cover in 2021, she had like a handmade suit for the album cover, and we have that on the bed. And there was a slew of things. So, she's got the better. I don't know why I didn't bring the actual big version. I liked the idea of it being mini, but that's way more practical.
The mininess of it is part of the entire Mini Trees experience, as we all know. Just small trees, small swords. We gifted Lexi a miniature sword for the release of Always in Motion in 2021.
Incredible.
But I love this record. Olivia, like, this is my first experience like working with you in any capacity. Like when we were coming across this. So like when we were discussing bring on a new member of the team, I remembered exactly how you nailed every aspect of this record, and I was like, oh, it's a no-brainer. Like Olivia rocks. Like, this is the best. But how dense this record is like, it's only 5 songs, but I don't know, like it has the feel of like a full album to me, just because like if you listen with headphones, and I would recommend that, it's like, definitely. It's such a dense, layered, so much is going on beneath it. It's like, and I don't know, some of the best lyrics for a Run for Cover release, like, or like any release really, like I've heard it. It's like, it's so personable. And I think that Lexi does such a great job making something both relatable, but also like something that I'm like, oh, I could never strive to like recreate this.
Totally. Yeah, one of the other superlatives I was throwing around was best pop to cry dance to, because I feel like that she's got like, it's like so, you're like, you can't not help but feel like energized listening to this music, but the lyrics are so palpably like vulnerable. And I feel like that's such a cool balance and distinction to her music that like, it's not even the kind of music that like, it's so happy that you don't realize that she's singing about something sad. It's like she just somehow has found this alchemy where it can be like super vibrant and energetic and like hit you over the head in this way musically, but still feel so vulnerable. It's pretty special.
I mean, the way Baseface took over the chat is really something, but I want to shout out Cry Dance. If ever, you don't even need to give examples because everyone on this chat has cry danced at a time in their life, I'm sure. You know what I mean? Jeff and or Tom, what drew you to Mini Trees? Just going way back.
I'll let Tom take it. This was a Tom discovery.
Let's go.
Well, actually, it was a cold email from Lexi with her first EP, and Jeff and I listened to it and liked it, but it was like the absolute beginnings, and we're like, okay, we'll kind of keep some tabs on this. Like, this is good, and see what's going on. And then Lexi kind of kept in touch and sent us the next thing. And it was one of those things, like, you could see that her songwriting had taken such a huge leap in such a short period of time. And also, like, now knowing that she has this relationship with John Joseph, the producer, and how that's kind of informed how she's constructed these songs and made instrumental choices and all that kind of stuff. It was all like really fully realized at that point and just really well put together. Like the full package, everything that we've been talking about. And at that point we just said, like, yeah, let's do it. Let's work together. It was pretty simple, and it doesn't always happen like that. But sometimes it does when you just hear the music and it's so good that you want to take a chance on it.
Those are the best ones, I think, honestly. So shout out. I'm excited. All right. Who's up next? Who wants to go next?
I was really quickly going to jump in and say that this record was my first Run for Cover perk. I slacked Brian and was like, hey, can I have this? Because I love it. And I was very excited to receive this vinyl. And then I also have a bone to pick with Netflix, because I think this whole album should be featured on the Heartstopper soundtrack. And I believe it was pitched for them and it's not featured. And so
wow.
Yeah.
Taking shots.
I'm really disappointed in Netflix for that, but there's always next season potentially.
And there's always Never Have I Ever did feature a Mini Trees song, just not from Burnout a couple years ago.
That's true.
But no, this deserves all of the Netflix bag in the world. So Ted Sarandos, please listen.
Please, Ted.
Please, yeah. That's my bone to pick.
Producer B, when you get a chance, set up our call with Netflix on that. Okay.
Yeah, it's on the books.
Thank you.
But Maria, while we have you, do you want to talk about one of your records for the year?
Yeah, I will. One of my records for the year was Stars Dust by Runner, with a little mention to Dust 2, which was his live album. That was an extension of this. Stars Dust came out in April, so it was my first full month at Run for Cover, and I gave it, I think I'm really funny for this, but I gave it the most quotable record of the year. And for the listeners who don't know, this is a completely ambient album, so there are no lyrics, but I personally think the narrative that surrounds this record is really quotable and is a testament to Noah's connection to music and creating, because he tore his Achilles and couldn't go to the studio and record the type of music he had been releasing before. So he just made an ambient record, which was super cool and came out super cool and did really well. I think this was my first time ever seeing a song hit 1 million streams on Apple Music, thanks to Today's Chill. So that was really cool to watch it go from like 10K to 1 million just by being added to this one playlist. So I really enjoyed watching that happen. And then as a personal anecdote for the Dust 2 live album, I was on the YouTube premiere for this, and I was at a potluck dinner with all of my friends while this was happening. And I was on the live, and all my friends were wondering what I was doing. So they all joined the live. And one of my roommate, who I love dearly, started asking questions on it, and they were really dumb. So I had to tell her, I had to ban her from asking questions. Because I was
can we get an example of one of the questions, please?
I think she asked, like, in retrospect, it's not that stupid, but at the time I was like, this is horrifying. But she asked what Noah's favorite snack food was in the studio. Which was just completely
I do feel like that's right up his alley.
Yeah, but then he responded that he doesn't eat snacks in the studio.
Whoa.
So,
I don't even believe that.
That's literally impossible.
I've got so many more dumb questions for a YouTube chat about something like that. For example, when's Dust 3, Dust 4, Dust 5? And I would just keep doing that until I was banned, but I couldn't make it that night.
See, I was going the other way. I was thinking that it was a roommate asking you questions like, hey, do you know where the Swiffer went? Like, this is so inappropriate. Just, yes, it's in the closet. Jeez. Oh.
No, she was fully immersed in the runner experience. And now she is a huge runner fan and asks me about Noah all the time. So it worked. But at the time I was like, I'm going to lose my job. It's so embarrassing.
Maria, I love assigning emphasis to the narrative on a lyricless ambient album because and I'll say for me personally, I've like shared this record with so many people just on the grounds of the concept because I think it's so cool and unique. Because as you mentioned, Noah sort of put these self-proposed constraints on making this album of only using stems from the previous LP, like Dying Stars Were Reaching Out. So it's very cool so the concept in general of like building something new from the pieces of something else and it coming together in this way. And especially if you're a fan of the previous album and you can identify and hear pieces of it in this album, it's like, it gives so much life and personality to a genre of music that sometimes can be kind of, background music or like less, those ideas aren't always so far at the forefront, which I think makes this record super special.
Yeah, I think it's a really good example of how you can do something completely different, but still be true to like your artistry. I think Noah does a really good job of that throughout kind of his whole career. But I think especially in this release, it was very cool to be someone who listened to his music before and then listen to this and still hear parts of the Runner project in something that is so unique.
I fully agree. And it was interesting, like kind of encouraging him to like make this a little bit more of a serious release because he had the concept and had been working on it, like you said, because he tore his Achilles and like wanted to continue creating music, but didn't necessarily have the intention at the beginning to like, hey, I'm going to release this record as a Runner record and do an album cycle around it. So like kind of convincing him that like, no, like there's people will be interested in hearing this. Two, there's value in like telling the story of you as an artist, like finding your voice in all these different ways is going to be just compelling as time goes on. And seeing him like come to believe in that was really cool.
Record sounds great too. Really phenomenal sonics going on.
Yeah.
One more not so fun fact about this one before we sign off. Maria had mentioned earlier that Noah made this record as he was recovering from an ACL injury. He actually incurred that injury playing pickup basketball. And we were hanging out, a few of us with Ethan, Noah's manager, as this was happening. And it was, very, very, very bad vibe at the time.
Wait, you were there?
I wasn't there. I wasn't like defending him.
Oh.
I wasn't. It wasn't like a. I wasn't setting
this
a
is your
screen.
fault.
Actually, it was all Brian's fault.
I was like, how has this escaped me?
He went for the
so long?
layup, and I swatted his ass.
It was a flagrant
Executive
two.
producer credit for real.
Brian had the idea for this record, and he's like, "How do we get Noah
Him
to
to
stay
stay
out of the
put.
studio?"
Watch this. I'm forcing the issue.
Brian heard a demo of that new Jello and locked his ass up. No, but
Whoa.
no, it was. It could also win the the Lemonade Award.
Wow,
Not
yeah.
Beyonce reference, but just like making something from lemons about a bad situation. But
Totally.
shout out to Noah.
It totally could.
Yeah.
It could also win the Lemonade Award by getting to 1 million streams on Apple Music.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Shout out track 4.
Shout out track 4. All right. Brian, I think you're up next.
Yeah, I'll go. Let's bring it back to a band that, long time listeners have been begging to hear on the pod. They're like, oh, when's this band going to be on the podcast? When are they going to drop some extensive knowledge about their RFC lineage? And I'm going to give a shout out to these artists by giving their award first. And I think it's only appropriate to hand out the Road Dog Award for a band that has been consistently touring, not only in 2024, but almost extensively, like changing the tires all the time, oil changes, air filter, spark plugs, the whole thing in the van. I'm going to give the Road Dog Award to One Step Closer for their record, All You Embrace, which came out in May. And I had the pleasure of helping the band, as like their direct liaison with this one to RFC. We cooked up a bunch of really creative ideas that the band has always done throughout their history, like just coming up, like approaching me with the wackiest ideas. Brian, how do we do this? Brian, we're thinking about, making a t-shirt like upside down or something like that. Just the most bonkers stuff imaginable, and just trying to help them, take that energy and bring it up. And I'm very, happy with how this record turned out. I think that they made a really special, release, and just the fact that they have toured relentlessly to get the word out about their band since like before we were even working with them, but especially this year because they did the same tour twice. That's how dedicated they are to this shit, is that they went on tour with Anxious, and Koyo twice. Over the course of the year, and went to Europe. They went to the UK. They did a whole run across the states with 4 Year Strong. But endless commendations to our boys in One Step Closer. Looking forward to another year on the road with them.
They're putting down the miles when they're electing to change the air filter.
Yes.
Yeah, and those are young fellas. Like, I'm just proud of them for knowing, like, hey, the air filter needs to get changed. They're just showing they're really in it. One Step Closer is a very special group of guys and a special band, and it's been really cool to sort of watch them both up close and from afar as they've developed and their sound is developed. But they, like, I pause because it's true of many people and many artists, right? But with musicians, sometimes they have to balance the scales of what they're doing and what they're working on and how much time they can spend to it. And the guys in OSC, it's almost their singular focus. They put everything else on the shelf so they could focus on that. And Road Dog Award feels very fitting. And that doesn't diminish their creativity or how that record hit, because they really were trying to do something and expand what they're about. And I think that's one of the more impressive things that I've seen in a while. They
also let us make jean shorts for this record as a promotional item. And I don't think I've seen a band do that. And I was I was psyched when they approved, they greenlit that idea.
I'm really upset. I don't have a pair of those denim shorts.
Same.
We got to make that happen for you guys.
Are you guys specifically not using the term jorts because it's like a negative, or because that's what they are, right? Jorts.
They are jorts.
Definitely jorts.
Okay. Yeah, it's all right.
You don't have a pair, Bob?
They're cool. No, they're cool jorts, but
All
they're
jorts
like,
are cool jorts, Bob.
That is true. All jorts are cool jorts. I think that's right.
Not to get into this because we are running long, but I think that the distinction between jean shorts and jorts is that jorts are above the knee and jean shorts fall below the knee, and these are a baggy Jinko style fit.
Oh, that's why I don't have them.
Yeah,
these are short jeans.
Okay, so you're saying these fall below the knee, correct?
Yeah, they're a Jinko style baggy,
loose fit. See, I don't know. I think that jorts could apply to both, but I do agree there is a distinction.
Yeah.
So more on that next time on the jorts cast.
More on that next time. Let's keep going.
All right, next one up.
I'll go. I can go. Oh no, sorry, Jeff. You're up. Go ahead.
Cool. Next up we have another Michael Pick Me Up, Turn Me Upside Down. It came out on May 31st of last year. I'm giving this record the Prolific Legends Award. Another Michael, the year prior, had recorded 21 songs for their next album. And we talked about a few different ways of releasing it, whether it be one very long hour and a half, almost running album, or broken up into two albums, which is what we ended up doing. The companion record in 2023 was Wishes to Fulfill. And Pick Me Up, Turn Me Upside Down is the sequel of sorts.
Yeah.
If you're unfamiliar with Another Michael, it's kind of vaguely indie folk, sometimes electronic, sometimes piano based, a lot of acoustic guitar. This record was a bit moodier than the one before it. There is a handful of piano only songs, including what I think was the first single, Pick Me Up, Turn Me Upside Down, which is definitely one of the standout tracks on the album. It's kind of crazy how prolific this band is, how much music they can write, how different the songs sound. This one is kind of all over the place stylistically. There's a decent amount of electronic drums, which is pretty interesting, although not new to their music at all. It's a heavier element than on the album before. And really they just write some like really relatable, kind of personal, but still stuff that, everyone kind of has had experiences with. There's songs on this record about being somebody's roommate, being a sad roommate. There is a song called Seafood where Michael runs through all of his favorite seafood. And Pick Me Up, Turn Me Upside Down, which sounds to me like it's about being bullied, and having someone shake all the coins out of your pockets.
Which is a track. That's a certified track, by the way.
Yeah, it's so good. Piano only. It's awesome.
So I have so many things to say. One, I would give someone like all the money in my pockets if they're like, "Oh, you're a prolific legend." What a name! What an award. Two, I think I would be a sad roommate if someone was making a bunch of seafood as their roommate. Like I just would be sad.
Great point.
You know what I mean? I will say, as I have a significant other, so I guess we're roommates. She got really into seafood, and she would occasionally microwave shrimp, and I'm like, "Yo, you just can't do that, man. We just can't do that. Can't do that in this house.
It's not an option. Dude, you gotta do that outside."
In the song, I don't think they talk about microwaving shrimp.
Well, I'm just saying that for prolific legend, maybe he wants to, maybe like they can consider that for a future.
The part two.
Just say part 3, part 4. I have a lot to say about microwaving shrimp as a sad roommate. Who here? Hold on. Let's take a moment of silence so I can say my favorite seafoods. And I'm done.
Wow.
Wow.
Hard stance. I know.
Mic drop.
Shots fired, Bob.
I know this will be another one. This will be on the seafood episode of the Run for Cover Records podcast. All right, what's up next?
I have. Hold on, I gotta pull up my notes here. Okay, I have the most likely to get your CD taken away by parents when listening at age 10 award.
I can guess what this is,
and that's going to Enumclaw's record, "Home in Another Life."
Yes, good.
When I was 10 or so, I got a copy of Dookie on CD, and I brought it to my cousin's house, who was a year younger than me, and we're listening to it for a while, just hanging around. And my aunt came in and overheard some lyrics. Don't remember which ones, and then she pulled out the booklet and started reading it, and then she yelled at us and just ripped the CD out of the CD player. And Home in Another Life reminds me of that experience, in that sonically, the songs have an edge, but there is a pop sensibility throughout the record that is widely appealing. I think of myself at 10 when I was vaguely getting interested in edgier and guitar-driven music, but still, like, obviously gravitated toward pop music. This is appealing in that way, but then you have a song title like "I Still Feel Bad About Masturbation" and lyrics dealing with abortion and other deep pain and uncertainty. It would certainly get taken away by my parents if I was listening to it. But at the same time, that's a formula that made some of the best 90s rock records timeless. And I think the act of a parent taking something like that away from a kid is also timeless.
That's hot. It's like the highest of praise too, because it also represents something formative in your, representing that pivot point into like, this is my music, and your parents being like, okay, sure. Hey, wait a minute.
I know that you don't understand this, and I hope that it's a lot longer before you do understand it.
Yeah, I don't know if everybody has one of these records. Mine's "Take Off Your Pants and Jacket" by Blink-182, where I had the edited version of the CD, and I asked my mom if I could get the unedited version. So she read through the edited booklet with the censored lyrics, and she said, no.
We didn't make an edited version of this Enumclaw record, unfortunately, but I do hope that this is, like that tipping point moment for somebody who this becomes the taboo, not allowed record in the house, just because Aramis's lyrics are, so pulled straight from the heart and really impactful. I love this record, and I think that it channels a lot of the same energy as some of the records from the 90s that we're talking about in a really interesting way. And my favorite lyric is on the last song. It's "She looks like Patrick Swayze when she says boo," which is not the same kind of vibe as what we're talking about, but referring to someone looking like Patrick Swayze saying a word, I can exactly picture what he's talking about in that line. And yeah, all the flowers to Enumclaw.
Hopefully at least a few 10-year-olds have it in their CD player right now.
And Patrick Swayze, what a beautiful person. You know what I mean?
Truly.
We should all be so lucky to look like Patrick Swayze in some moment.
Ooh.
Sweet. I can go next. I'm going to drop the Poetic Soul Award to our next release, Horse Jumper of Love's Disaster Trick. This record came out in August. We've been working with Horse Jumper for almost 10 years at this point. One of the rare Boston bands for the Boston record label, Run for Cover. But this record really feels like a new version of Horse Jumper. They worked with producer Alex Farrar, who has done records for both Wednesday and Indigo D'Souza. So they went down to North Carolina for this one to track with him. And Carly from Wednesday is featured on the record. I believe Mr. MJ Lenderman also makes an appearance at some point. But the lyrics to this record, and all Horse Jumper releases really, but I think Dimitri did a really good job on this one, matching the mood of the songs. The song "Word" for example, just that slow drip drop pace, with the way that he delivers those songs, Nude Descending, Gates of Heaven, I think that this is by far the best Horse Jumper record. And, while the self-titled has a little bit of a life as a meme because of the artwork and a few of the songs on there, I think that it says a lot for this band to just be continually making their best music this late into their career. So shout out to them, and shout out to their poetic souls.
Hell yeah. That's a great award. I agree. This feels like far and away the record that they've approached with the most intentionality of any of their music so far. And like you said, the lyrics have always been poetic and interesting and unique to Dimitri. But from the songwriting through the way they approach the campaign, all the people that they work with, it all felt like really, they were placing a little bit of weight on it, and the intentionality kind of went with that. And it's cool to see that resonating, and as a result, finding new people, even though this is their 5th LP, I believe. And 5th one that we worked on with them.
Oh yeah. All right. Who's up?
I've got an award for Wiccaface Springs Eternal, who released the Midnight at the Castle Moorlands EP this year. And this award's a little bit different because it's a certificate. But I'm going to award Wiccaface a certificate of authenticity on this one.
I love that. You throw that on a lost Funko Pop and it's
yes. This is a self-produced record, which is something new and something different from Adam. He is almost constantly writing and demoing music. And he does a lot of producing when he's demoing, but typically what he's doing is getting his ideas down and then going into the studio or having somebody else punch up his production and kind of round it out. He often talks about how he feels like he's not a great producer, which I disagree with. A lot of times we'll hear demos for songs with his production before he goes in and has it, redone or spruced up or whatever. But this record is the first time that he's released a body of work that is fully self-produced, which is super cool. I think it's a milestone for him, as a songwriter, and getting his own production out there. I think it gives a very intimate and authentic feeling to the EP as a whole, because it's just him all the way through, and it fucking rules.
Eric, you're up.
Cool. My award I'm giving is the most surprisingly intimate record, which I'm giving to the Modern Baseball reissue that we did for 2014's You're Gonna Miss It All, which is also where I met the Run for Cover crew. I was the manager of Modern Baseball, and that was the first record label outside of the one that I run that the band was signed to. And it brought back a ton of memories working on this campaign over the last year. But to go back to the superlative of it being the secret intimate record, we put together a 96-page photo book with more photos than 96, probably something like 150 photos from the time, all shot by Jess Flynn during, the year before, during, and after You're Gonna Miss It All. Some incredible photos that, there were so many more that we went through, but so many great ones that we picked to include, and kind of threw it to the band to see if they wanted to say something about it and write some notes in there. And we got some really great notes from all of the band members in the margins on the photographs of this book release. And I do know that we mentioned that when we were promoting and marketing this record. But I imagine for a lot of people who got it and were pouring through it, seeing commentary from all of the band members kind of annotating this time in their career and their life is really special. It definitely was special for me going through it and getting all that stuff and working to arrange it. But this band has grown so tremendously since they stopped being a band, and they felt really big then, but it's really grown since. And so many of the fans buying this record, I think, didn't get a chance to see the band. And I feel like we matched the intimacy that existed the first time around, and fans getting to open up this book and hear what it felt like to go play in Europe for the first time, or the third time, because the band were really road dogs during that time and nonstop touring and all that. It really, I feel like they were very open, as they've always been. And if I was a fan who didn't get to see the band, it's a really special and intimate piece to get to dig into.
So, Eric, I had a question, and I mean, look, we could and probably should spend some time talking about this down the road, but I like the way you framed that it was surprisingly intimate, I guess is how you said it. I could ask you, what was something that you came across that you didn't know, but I don't want to do that. I want to ask you about something you did know, but then when you were putting this all together, hit you in a way that you didn't expect it to hit you, because obviously you were very close with the band, especially through that time period, still close. But what was something you knew, but then seeing it again in the context of now maybe hit you in a way you didn't expect?
I think I alluded to it a little bit in what I was just mentioning, but it all that time went by so quickly because there was so much going on, but seeing it physically documented in these gorgeous photographs just brought me back to how much the band got around. The band didn't tour for that many years, and the band toured so much more than so many other bands, constantly on the road, and just feeling like these opportunities are coming. We don't want to turn these down, and just also the wear that comes along with that, that you can see through photographs, and really what is more bearable when you're younger to what becomes absolutely impossible to even consider when you get a little bit older. And
right.
Touring like that is not particularly sustainable.
That's right.
This had one of my favorite moments at this past year at Run for Cover, which was the TikTok campaign we did for it. And I got to give it a shout out to intern Anna for coordinating all the TikTok influencers, but seeing people receive what was their first, influencer gift. Obviously these were all fans of modern baseball, was really special, and people getting pretty emotional over receiving these, and having the opportunity to be a part of that was really awesome. And just made, I think sometimes working in music, you can kind of forget that it's impacting like tangible, real people. And so getting to see that is a cool opportunity to be like, oh, this is real people are experiencing this, and it's special to them, and reminds me that in the moments when I'm a fan, we are also creating those moments for other people. And that was one of those. And it was really special to see all those reactions.
I totally agree. It's funny how that went down. It reminded me of doing stuff for and with modern baseball down the road, because we were discussing kind of a large digital marketing campaign with a company that does all sorts of influencer marketing and such. And after kicking that email down for a really, really long time, we were like, wouldn't it just make more sense if we took the DIY approach to this and figured out who the big fans are and just send them some of these boxes in the mail and see what they think about it? No strings attached. It felt very true to the ethos of the band and kind of some of the stuff I came to Run for Cover to do in the first place, which was just like, you know, get with record stores and send them some of the records and be like, hey, if you don't know this, you should order this. It feels very, very organic. And it was awesome to see how excited some of those people were about it. There was one I was thinking about when I went to go see Honora in theaters, that girl who got the record with the thickest Brooklyn accent. Do you remember that one?
That one was great.
Epic. Really great.
It's so cool to kind of bookend the conversation, starting, Eric, with you, who were there the whole time, and then Maria talking about how we're like getting the music out to people and promoting it, you know, now 10 years on, and just thinking of, you know, how many people, especially with this band's continued growth after they stopped, you know, being an active band, how the music like continues to live on and reach new people, and all the different ways that it can do that, and all the different ways that it will do that in the future, and just like consider our role in helping to continue to foster that for modern baseball and all the records that we're talking about. It gives me a tremendous sense of pride and accomplishment when we see that and can kind of trace that line throughout the years that we've been doing this. It's really cool. And then to be able to have a document like this book, give those new folks a peek behind the scenes of a bit of what it was like when it was all happening is extra special, I think.
Thank you for waiting if you're listening to this and it took a little bit longer than we expected to get your book. It's a very nice book. A lot of work went into it, and we appreciate your patience, is the nice way I'm going to say that.
A lot of pages.
A lot of pages,
folks.
A lot of pages, a lot of patience.
It's all worth it. The waiting is worth it. All right. First, boop. Jeff, you're up next.
Okay. We're going to be talking about Cursive Devour next. This came out later in the year, September 13th, I believe. Cursive is obviously a band that's been together for a long time, I believe since the late 90s. I think this is their 11th proper album, which is pretty crazy. I am giving this the Renaissance Future Classic Award.
Hell yeah.
Very nice.
In the context of RFC, it's very easy to compare this to Me Without You, who we worked with, I guess, a decade ago at this point, and releasing their album Pale Horses. Both Cursive and Me Without You, I would say, don't have a bad album, but I think that both this record, Cursive Devour, and the Me Without You record were kind of Renaissance records for both bands and where they were at in their career at the time. Cursive's always been a pretty unique sounding band that you could always tell a Cursive song is a Cursive song, whether it's from their first record or from this one. But I think this record, more so than the, kind of last 10 years of their output or so, revisits kind of a specific sound that made people fall in love with them in the first place. And the first few songs alone immediately reminded me of Burst in Bloom and Domestica. And just the sound of the record and the songwriting and the lyrics really just reminded me of what made me personally fall in love with the band in the first place so long ago. And I think that this record will probably go down as kind of like a classic favorite record of theirs in the future, because I think it's resonated with a lot of Cursive fans in the same way as it has with me. Maybe they fell off at some point in the band's extremely long career or were there the whole time. But yeah, I think that this record will be looked upon very fondly in the future, even though it already is currently. But yeah,
I felt like this was, it's hard. You don't want to call something a return to form, but it was immediately took notice of it. and I noticed the excitement around it. And part of that, I mean, look, as a non-Run for Cover employee, I can say this. I think the association with the label and that was enough to go, whoa, let's see this. This is cool. And so, a peanut butter and jelly kind of effect where two great things come together and make something even better. Right. So, was very excited to see that for you guys and for the band, to be really honest. I thought it caught a moment, and yeah, like a lot of fans, new and old, seem to really be drawn to this record.
Yeah, I think that this is one of the most impressive things that a band can do. When you start listing records, and Jeff, like you said, you're getting into double digits. It's not uncommon for people to think about artists with a long career as like, I liked them at the beginning, but who cares anymore? And so for a band to be able to stay around for this long and have this many records and put out their 11th record and have it still sound so much like everything that everybody's liked about this band the whole time, but still be something new is like, I mean, it's what every artist hopes to do when they're 30 years into their career. But to see them do it and to be there with them while they're making this thing happen is pretty awe-inspiring.
You're also best friends with Tim Kasher now.
Tim is my boy.
I will also say one of the coolest things about doing a record label, especially for this long, and getting to the point we're at, is having bands that we kind of grew up with come to us and say, hey, we're fans of what you do. Maybe we can talk about working together. Rival School is very much in that category. There's not a ton of favorite all-time records on Jeff and I's list that overlap. But the Burst in Bloom EP is in the top 5 for sure. So that was like, when this idea got presented to us, that was like the first thing that we did was talk about that, go and each listen to that EP, and then talk about how we could try to make it happen.
All right, Maria, what do you got for us?
Sure. I got the Storybook Award, which I am giving to Advanced Bass's Horrible Occurrences, which came out, it was our last record of the year. It came out December 6th. And the reason I gave it this award was because it is a story, quite literally. It's the record I could imagine most being turned into a children's book, even though I don't think the themes are necessarily child friendly. Some heavy stuff going on in this record, but I just like visually, I think Owen does a great job of creating worlds, and this is about a fictional town called Richmond, not Richmond, Virginia, which confused me at first, but it is really just beautifully written, and the visuals created for the music videos, The Year I Lived in Richmond and The Tooth Fairy, also contribute to that world building that I think Owen does such a good job of. And it was just really cool getting to work on this record and listening to it for the first time. And I think I messaged Tom and was like, this is sad. But also like, so it was just so emotionally driven. And it felt like I was listening to someone writing about their own life and all these people they encountered. And then to realize that it's completely fictional is really incredible. And so I gave this the Storybook Award. I also want to shout out Owen for really taking a chance with TikTok. He really went there and just like committed completely to engaging with my ideas. And I appreciate that because it's not always easy. And he did a great job.
Maria, let me ask you, with this winning the Storybook Award, is Horrible Occurrences folklore or Evermore?
Oh my God, I'm so glad you said that.
Folks don't know that we have a Taylor Swift scholar on their RFC staff.
Oh my God. I literally was like, how can I mention Taylor Swift? I think it's I think it's a folklore. Just because if you're a Taylor Swift fan, you know that Evermore might have better songs, but Folklore is the better album. And I think One Horrible Occurrences has incredible songs as individuals, but as an album, it's so just like moving. And I think that's why I would say it's a folklore. It also, even though it's released in December, I think it feels, and maybe that's because of the visuals and the album cover, it feels a little bit more of a summery album, which Taylor Swift has said that Folklore is a summer album. So,
wow, I could not be happier about how that played out for you.
That was perfect. I didn't even have to do it myself. I'm so glad.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
Yeah, thank you, Dane. I really
any other records from this year stand out?
Just
as particular 1-to-1 comps. Let's keep this rolling.
Yeah, Maria, you can just complete that Venmo request after this episode.
Yeah. No worries. $100, right?
Yeah, this is way better than my Cursive is Chris Paul fucking analogy I was going to go with.
Yeah, limited audience on that one.
Yeah.
I find it interesting that you say that you feel like it's a summer album, because I've always felt like Owen's music, and this is not only because he's created a bunch of holiday music over his career and also just released a holiday song with Sun June, but I feel like it's like holiday season appropriate music. It's like,
yeah.
Maybe it is because he's made a lot of Christmas songs, but it's always something you can throw on on a nice winter evening.
I think there's a lot of like cozy motifs in his music that definitely make it feel like it's something you want to listen to on vinyl and while it's raining.
Yes.
But this album, I think, because it's a lot more synth driven than some of his other stuff, and synths just make me think of The Summer a la 1989 by Taylor Swift, if you've heard of it. So I'm sorry, that's my last one.
I hope they don't stop. This is
the thing is, they're
really
seamless.
Nice
it's really good.
It's seamless because it's how my brain works. But yeah, I think also it's just like, it's all green. I'm looking at the record now. There's greens and blues, and I just have found myself, the imagery has drawn me into more of like a spring, summer place.
I have to agree with you, Jeff. This is deeply winter, sad, under the blanket music for me that this man writes so very well.
Damn it.
Well, I mean, I think a major part of this is, I think, low key, Jeff is a cozy winter weather holiday music. But
yeah, I got my wool sweater on right now.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, it's not even an autumn sweater. You're a winter sweater.
Yep.
So, all right. Well,
yeah, we'll rip Horrible Occurrences on a boat this summer and report back.
Oh, I don't know if it's boat vibe. I don't know.
Pontoon.
Yeah,
pontoon
summer and
parked
boat
in the middle
are
of
two
the
very
lake.
different things.
Yeah, I think it might be lake vibes.
Yeah,
it might be
lake vibes.
Definitely not the ocean.
Sunsetting lake vibes.
Is it lake vibes on the water, or is it lake vibes by the water kind of energy? Like sun's going down, but you're hanging, like maybe
you
the
got
fire
your wool
starting,
sweater
but
inside the cabin.
It's campfire, roasting marshmallows. Well, and also I feel like it goes along with like telling like campfire stories.
There we go.
Sharing folklore.
Look at her go.
Sharing folklore. I'm tying it back in.
I like it. Yes, there we go.
I have to justify my opinion now that I'm losing.
We'll do an official vote at the end, and we'll hopefully you'll come up at least draw. So
let us know in the comments what season you listen to Horrible Occurrences in.
Who's up next, Dane?
Big T.
I have awarded the Icebreaker Award to Armlock and their record Seashell Angel Lucky Charm. A lot of firsts with this record. They broke the ice with the track Ice Cold, and that song is just incredible. We ended up working with Armlock after both Fiddlehead and Young Gov played with them or heard about them through some friends in Australia. And both were so enthusiastic about how good Armlock was. And I think if anything, they kind of undersold it. The band has blown me away with every new thing that I've experienced from them, for the first time. First Ice Cold was the first song that I heard. And then hearing the full record, seeing the music videos, just so kind of like vibey and in the pocket for what the music is. Homespun. They created the whole thing and did the whole thing themselves. And then having live performance videos for the whole record that, when I first heard them, I thought they maybe sounded better than the record, or at least that was an argument that you could make credibly. And then finally seeing them live and meeting them for the first time at the showcase we did in London in October, and they fully delivered live. It was, again, it blew me away. After them coming halfway across the world, jet lag, all of that stuff, just showing up, playing first and just fucking nailing it and everybody being captivated. It was really cool.
Yeah. Armlock, I think, is the band that, and this is like a good measure of what we're doing with the label, kind of just to create a sort of community. It's the band that the most people on the roster have kind of like talked to me about. Yeah. And I think that that's like a very cool thing for like, first release, like a new band. Like that energy is like so exciting. And it's really cool to see.
We haven't, I think, worked with an Australian band since Camp Cope, or maybe other than Camp Cope. Is that right?
I think that's right.
God, I hope so.
I think that's right.
Not in a disparaging way, but I don't want like a couple of Australians listening to this to be very offended.
Yeah. I think that's true. And obviously like the geographic distance presents its challenges, but the music is so good where it just makes it easy. And it's nice to have a band on the roster in Australia to help us plant our flag there a little bit more deeply.
Well, that was a timely icebreaker because I believe that was the last superlative we had to give out.
Whoa.
How about that?
There were a couple other little ones right at the end. This is a Dane section. So what do we got?
We got a little honorable mentions here. Those are the I don't know, how would we differentiate these?
These are the Oscars that they give out before the ceremony starts, even though we're doing it after.
Ooh, that's cold.
Let's say it's more like the after party, because after parties are more fun.
The after party.
Yeah. You know what I mean? This is an after
These are
party,
some limited
vibes,
late night.
You know what I mean? Cool vibes.
Yeah. Limited format, exclusive. You got to know somebody to get into these ones.
That's right.
Yeah, well, we had a couple remix records this year. I would consider you could also put Dust 2 into this category, which was the kind of remix of the Runner albums this year. But I feel like we kind of already touched on those. So we also had this year Turnover's remix album of their 2021 record, Myself in the Way. And I have awarded this album most likely to be played by the wine bar DJ. And that is, it's me. I'm the wine bar DJ. I played some of these tracks when my friend asked me to DJ at his wine bar, and is a very lively, luxurious vibe. People did not know what they were listening to, but they really enjoyed it.
What's your
yes,
DJ
Bob.
name?
That's such a good question.
I had a list. I landed on for that event. It was Sacred Cadence. I don't know if we're going to stick with that one or not. I got a list of others. We'll see.
I like how it flows. I'm just wondering. It just depends on what vibe you're going for. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what the Western Michigan audience is looking for the DJs. DJ Sacred Cadence. You might not be playing many birthday parties.
Yeah. Well, I'll just move down the list. It's kind of like a one of one sort of situation. This record's cool though. It's I believe the debut of Austin, who sings in Turnover, his pseudonym Toy Problem. He did a few of the remixes himself on this album. It's a lot of like dance remixes of the songs, which is super up my alley personally. Some other RFC alumni on this one. Simi from Healing Potpourri did a remix. Young Gov did a remix. Something different and super cool. I thought that this was a cool way to revisit Myself in the Way. And then the other remix album, kind of the yin to this remix album's yang, if you will, is Portrayal of Guilt's Christfucker 2, which is a remix album of their, was it 2021 or 2022 Christfucker?
I believe it was 2021. I think both came out pretty close to each other. No. Fucker was 2021. Myself in the Way was 2022.
Fucker won. I awarded this album the Jump Scare Award. I have a very, very real anecdote that led to me awarding this award to Christfucker 2. This record was a surprise to me. I didn't know anything about it. But Matt from Portrayal of Guilt was working on it for 2 years after Christfucker's initial release, getting remixes from a bunch of people. I heard about it for the first time when we got the unmastered collection of all of these songs. And I was listening to it after I was driving home from a show in Detroit. 2-hour drive back to Grand Rapids at, midnight, listening to this album in my car. And it was unmastered, so the volume tracks were a little bit different. And it's the 4th track, Fall From Grace, remixed by Grooming. Just starts with super loud, harsh noise. And coming out of the track before it, I legitimately, I was driving one of my friends who was in the passenger seat and legitimately swerved onto the rumble strips, reaching for the volume knob, veering off of the highway in the transition between these two songs. So very, very scary album experience.
I could have sworn, and it makes sense. I think this is the album that your parents are most likely to take away from you all the way up to age 17 if they walk in your room and
my parents will take this away from me now.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So this is one for those, you're mad. Yeah. Yeah, Mom, I'm listening to Christfucker 2 remixes.
Yeah. The second one.
All right. Listen.
I gifted my parents the Run for Cover 2024 full t-shirt for Christmas. And it does say Christfucker 2 on the back. So somewhere in a small community in Florida, my parents are walking around wearing Christfucker 2 on their shirts.
Did they have any follow-ups?
Amazing.
No, actually, my dad put it on immediately, so they were excited. I think my parents loved it. This album was also a jump scare for me, but mostly because Portrayal of Guilt was the second Run for Cover show I ever went to, and no one told me what I was getting into. And yeah, as we've established, a big Taylor Swift fan over here, so I might as well have been wearing my Eras Tour merch in a group of people thrashing their heads around. And I stood out like a sore thumb. So that was a really special moment.
And what Taylor Swift album would Christfucker 2 be?
Ooh,
I was gonna say you could have dressed for Reputation and probably fit right in.
That's true. I could have. I would say Speak Now.
Whoa!
I feel like Speak Now. It's got the most edge. I feel like it's where Taylor Swift dabbled most in her emo phase. So I think that's where I'd place this one. But I might have to give Christfucker 2 another listen to really solidify that opinion.
It's very fair.
It's not as scary when you know what you're getting into.
That's true. Now that I know, I feel like I'm prepared for whatever.
Maria, what was your first Run for Cover show to compare this against?
Horse jumper.
Okay.
Oh
A
yeah.
little different.
And it
little
wasn't
contrast change.
It was in the same day. It was at South by. So I went
Oh.
from horse jumper to Portrayal of Guilt. So quite a jump.
Producer B, what do we got? What do we got on the tab here? What's left to go through?
On the tab here,
I feel like we've encapsulated all of 2024 so nicely.
so nicely.
Really
one more award to give out in this after party before the sun comes up, and that's the In My Bag award. And I'm going to give that to the anniversary edition of Tiger's Jaw's Charmer, which came out in 2014 initially, and we did a limited anniversary capsule of merch that basically we did a limited pressing of Charmer, no new tracks or anything like that, but we did an embroidered canvas bag sort of overlay to effectively recreate the hand-stitched embroidery that Brianna from Tiger's Jaw did for the original album art, and make it into an actual version of, like what she had made in the initial photo, which has always been something that we thought, in our wildest imaginations, like Dane and I were just like, how could we create this, in real time for one of the most special records in our catalog. I love Charmer. I think it's I think I'm still Two Worlds gang, but if it's not Two Worlds, it might be Charmer, to be honest. No, it's
I'm a charmer. I'm a charmer, number one fella.
Yeah. But the record is in a bag. The band was in their bag when they were making it. It's the In My Bag award.
This is a record that I think we're going to talk about pretty soon. It's outrageous. It's so good. I'm so happy with how it came out. I love the that embroidery stitching. It sort of feels very at home for the band. It works perfectly for their aesthetic and the whole energy of the record too. So shout out.
So that's it for full-length releases that we put out in 2024. But I thought that to close out, we could have a little fun, pass the ball and ask everyone not at Run for Cover Records, what are some releases from this year that you loved?
Tweakin' by G3 Jello. Oh wait, that's 2025.
Yeah, you're on that new shit.
I want to get mine in here because I feel like it's gotta be on everybody's list and it feels very obvious, but the McGee record, two star in the Dream Police, just absolutely perfect album. It is both a chill in the morning and also vibe at night album. It's a crowd pleaser. Anybody who's heard it, I haven't heard anybody say a bad thing about it, and I don't think you can.
Give me the elevator pitch, Dan.
It's a lot of things. It's kind of, okay, here's the thing. I'm worried that everybody who hears this album is going to try to make music that sounds like this. It's jazzy, shoegazy at times. It's got pop elements, indie rock. It's very effortless, laid back, somewhat experimental at times. His vocal style is something kind of new and fresh. That's kind of what I'm referencing when I say keep your eyes peeled for everybody doing the McGee vocal thing in 2025.
He's got a lot of guitar tricks, right?
Yeah, he's a guitar guy.
Yeah.
All right, so a couple of mine. This is a tough question always. Prize Horse Under Sound. I really like that record. Great record. Think they're due for some big things this year. I really like, what's that? The Webbed Wing Volume 3. Easy one. For the harder stuff, I like the Alienator Time to Die EP. Band out of Pittsburgh, Speed Plans. They have a new EP I really like. Band from New Jersey, Gimme Drugs, put out the Black Demo. As I said privately to some of the fellas, it is stripped down, sort of lo-fi, but alty, and the singer vaguely hits Crash Test Dummy vibes, and I say that in a positive way. So I really like that. And there's a million things I'm forgetting right now. So thanks for putting me on the spot.
I didn't know we were allowed to do more than one.
Oh, well, go ahead, man. You can get in.
No. I'm just saying.
Let's give space for other people.
Yeah.
Dane's pissed.
That just gave me a great idea for mine, actually.
To steal one that Dane would want to say?
No. The last word.
Everybody's just trying to steal Dane's ideas.
Yeah, I got to hear this MKG record. No, I'll go. I want to shout out Wishy 777. Fucking what a record.
Also mine.
Also Tom's. Let's go.
Wow.
Yeah. Cannot believe this record. I was actually going through records from last year that I thought I would list as my favorite, but I was, and again, I'm talking too much about basketball this episode, but I was shooting some hoops at the gym and I was making a bunch of shots. I was listening to, Love on the Outside. It is a perfect blend of some like elements of shoegaze and like sort of like indie pop and a little bit more of like a harder thing. Like there's definitely some like shared lineage with Narrowhead because of the Bloomington connection. Shout out to former guest Cora. But that record is the complete package. It's the real deal. And I wanted to give some shine to them. And I also want to give some shine to the Wicked soundtrack because as Maria and Olivia know,
Thank you.
We were jamming that on the car ride recently, and it's full of bangers.
That was going to be one of mine. Good.
Wishy and Wicked.
Do we call that a new release or a remix release, given its lineage?
Maria, what do you think?
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess remix. I think there's a couple new songs maybe in part 2, so it'll be new. But this one's a remix, and I too have been listening to it to death. It's given a nice mainstream outlet for all of us closeted theater kids. So I'm glad to see them putting respect on our name.
The world is coming to your side. I can go. My 2 tops were See You at the Maypole by Halfwave. I forget exactly when that came out, but sometime last year. I'm a huge Halfwave fan. I just think that, yeah, she really stays true to her like self-produced sort of like electronic witchy roots on every record, but just keeps elevating, and the songwriting is so good. It's just like, I feel like that combo of having like kind of like we were talking about with Mini Trees, like to have such interesting production and musicality and also just really crush on lyrics is a pretty special combo, because I feel like I'm always kind of drawn to one or the other, and it's rare to find that full package. And she does so much of the production herself, which is so sick. Really like that one. And then I also, my other, have to give a shout out to Katie Gavin's What a Relief. Very stellar songwriting. Yeah, that's all I've got to say.
That's such a good one.
Really good.
Who else listened to music this year? Raise your hand.
Tom and Jeff, we know you guys don't even like music. Eric, do you got anything?
Yes. I have been super into the new Kim Deal record, her first solo record in a long career, as a part of the Breeders and the Amps, and the Pixies. The solo record is phenomenal. It's really varied. It's really pretty and sweet sounding. There are other times where it's vaguely industrial. And she worked on, I think, a lot of it, if not all of it, with Steve Albini, recipes. And you can really feel his sonic footprint on it as well. I think I don't know if we've got a lot of fans of the Breeders or the Amps on the line here, but I feel like the record's a little surprising, and you get the solo record. The instrumentation from the first track, Nobody Loves You More, is really broad and awesome. I'm really looking forward to seeing her play live, but fucking great record. Really love it. Been listening to it a ton. Another one, this technically came out in, I think, December of 2023, but I didn't find it until halfway through this year. MODs from Morgan and the Organ Donors. Really great record. Really easy to listen to.
All right.
Pop it in your car. Olympia came out on the K sublabel Perennial, and I think this band played Toby Vale from Bikini Kills in the band. I think this band played I believe the lore is that they played a New Year's party every year at a dive bar and didn't play any other time or practice, and just like got together as friends to play every year. And the record is really poppy, really it reminds me of the Babies. Just easy to listen to for driving, walking, rocks.
I'm a big fan of the Babies, and this looks like it'll be right up my alley. Thank you.
Dig it.
All right, just kidding. Tom and Jeff do like music. What do you got? Who's up?
I can go. Well, Wishy was far and away my number one. I listened to that record more than any other new music in 2024. Sonically right up my alley. They toured with Narrowhead and were fucking awesome opening that tour. What else? I guess this is technically 2023, but I didn't discover it until 2024. This LA band Rocket put out an EP called Versions of You that I also kind of wore out in my headphones. Just really great poppy songwriting with some shoegaze elements and indie rock 90s, early 2000s stuff. Saw them open for Sunny Day Real Estate, and they were also the real deal. So that was cool. Had death metal click with me for the first time really this year. And not necessarily new death metal, but really clicked with the Death record, The Sound of Perseverance. I think that's my favorite one that I've gone through of all the classic death metal bands so far. So I'd spent some time with that. And lately I've been spending a lot of time listening to kind of the classic MTV Unplugs, Nirvana, Alice in Chains. And those are also fucking awesome.
Wait, rank them right now.
I don't know if I can rank
Impossible
them.
job. Don't sleep on the 10,000 Maniacs Unplugged. It's
the 10,000
so
Maniacs one is really good. And it prompted me to listen to more 10,000 Maniacs because I never spent the time going through it, but that performance is really good. I have to say Nirvana, but the Alice in Chains one is like fucking heartbreaking as well. And just like so good to hear Lane's voice, like without any studio layering. It's just it's a whole nother dimension to the band. Really sick.
Guess who gets the close? The GOAT. Let's go.
All right, I'm going to give you two metal records that I really enjoyed. I'm going to give them to you real quick. The first one is Defeated Sanity, who are a father and son band from Bavaria, Germany.
Wow.
Who have been a band for 31 years. It's like extremely technical, jazzy death metal. They've put out a ton of records. They're on Season of Mist, who shout out Jeff Malt, our old intern, works at.
Shout out Season of Mist, cool label.
Yeah. Their new record is great. Second one is, this is a strange word to pronounce, and I have never heard someone say it, so I don't know how to say it. But it's something like Zompantli. They are an indigenous death metal band. The word name means skull rack.
Yes.
Oh, that's also a cool name.
Yeah. I believe it's one or maybe multiple people from Zybalba. They're from
yes.
Pomona, California. Really cool record. Very surprising instrumentation on it. I don't even really know what some of it is. There's I don't want to sound misinformed by trying to guess, but there's definitely instruments being used that you've never heard on a metal record before, and it's very cool.
Oh yeah.
On that tip too, Jeff, easily on the top of my list, if I was choosing multiple records, is Blood Incantation's Absolute Elsewhere, which Jeff just texted me one day, said, "Have you heard this? It's death metal with Pink Floyd parts." And I was like, I'm in. I know that's a very popular band that a lot of people like, but this was actually my introduction to their discography. It was the first time I gave it a listen, and it immediately clicked. Definitely on my top.
That record stepped out. That record brought a lot of people in. It's an interesting record.
It's insane, and they toured playing it in full. So I went and saw them play that, which was remarkable. Very good record.
All right, did we miss anybody? Did anybody not say what they wanted to say? Anybody get in?
No. But
producer B, take us away. What you got?
Just listen, man. 2024 was the 20-year anniversary of Run for Cover Records. Shout out Jeff. Shout out Tom.
Whoa.
Shout out the rest of the squad. In addition to all these great records, we did a number of initiatives to kind of celebrate like all the history of the label that I've been very grateful to be a part of as we've been doing it, including the Run for Cover podcast, which started as an initiative. So Bob, thank you for joining us. Maria, Olivia, Eric,
Bob.
Tom, thank you guys for joining us for this episode and for everything that you guys do to help me do my part of the job. Yes, this has been very fun. And I appreciate all of you, and thanks for listening. This episode will be out in time for the next very cool Run for Cover Records thing that's going to happen, which is Something in the Way Festival in Boston. 2 days, over 20 bands, a ton of them on the label, a ton of them not on the label, including aforementioned Wishy. You know, it's going to be quite the party. And if there are tickets still available, you should buy a flight to Boston and come.
See you there.
That's right. All right, that'll do it. Another episode of the Run for Cover podcast in the books. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you to our staff for hopping on to talk. And thank you to all the Run for Cover artists that made great music in 2024 and continue to do so. To stay up to date with Run for Cover Records, you can go to our website, runforcoverrecords.com. You can follow us on Instagram at Run for Cover and YouTube, Run for Cover Tube. On there, we post all our new singles, music videos. What a bunch of great places to hang out on the web, you know? All right, take care.